アメリカってお金持ちが多そうって思いませんか？でも実は急に$1000必要になっても払えない人がかなりいるんです。クレカ社会で便利だけど、その訳、借金も多いのがリアル。そのため SNS ではどうやってお金を貯めるのかを知りたい人がたくさんいます。今日はそんなアメリカ人がやってるちょっと賢い貯金のノウハウを紹介します。
1, 2, 3. Throughout last year, I managed to save a total of $15,000 in cash. I know it is a bit old-fashioned to save in cash nowadays, but it really works for me. Now I am starting my 4th book. The book comes with pages that have pockets numbered 1 to 100. It also comes with a tracker sheet where you can color the amounts as you go. Here is how it works. For a pocket 1, you save $1. For pocket 2, you save $2. And so on until the very end. There is no strict timetable for this. You can go with your own pace. I think this is such a fun and visual way to stay accountable with savings. And watching your progress as you are coloring the tracker is incredibly motivating. So don't wait. If you are ready to start saving, take on this challenge with me.
I'm starting off 2026 with a no-buy quarter, so here are the 3 things I'm refusing to buy. Okay, first is Amazon purchases. If it's not replacing something or something isn't broken, then it's going to be going on a 30-day list, and most of the time I will just be forgetting about it, so I'm going to be saving money. Second, I'm not buying new clothes just because something is trendy. I already have a closet full of clothes that half I don't even wear, so if I really want something, I can go thrift shopping. And a third is convenience shopping. This is going to be super hard for me, but it's going to save me so much money. So like ordering food just because I'm lazy when I could be cooking. Because a lot of my convenience shopping is just because I am lazy and impulsive, not because it's intentional. So I want to be intentional going into 2026. I love doing a no-buy quarter because it really resets your awareness and your spending faster than anything you can do.
So I used to be the queen of spending money even when I knew that I shouldn't, to the point where I was putting myself into debt, just literally buying random useless stuff. I would have a closet full of clothes with tags on them. My drawers would be overflowing with makeup that I would literally never wear or wear once and then never use again. And what I realized is that there were a few really big reasons for this, and when I was able to understand what these were, I was able to start saving money effortlessly. I saved my first $100,000 by 25. I paid off $40,000 of debt in 18 months. I was able to use money to buy my dream home, to pay for my wedding in cash, all because I learned how to stop self-sabotaging and getting in my own damn way. So here are the things that I learned. The first thing was I used to see saving money as a sacrifice. I thought every dollar that I didn't spend today was an experience or a thing that I was missing out on. What I didn't realize though is that a sacrifice is giving something up and getting nothing back in return. When you save money or you invest your money, you are actually giving future you the life you wish you had today. So in my eyes, that's not actually a sacrifice, that's a gift. Now, this was obviously just the first step in my money saving journey. The next thing that I really had to understand was that I had really wishy-washy goals, if I even had any at all. I thought I wanted more money, but I didn't really understand what more money meant to me. When you have wishy-washy goals and you lack specificity in what it is that you want out of life, it's really hard to work towards it. So instead of saying, I want to save money, what do you want to save money for? And a really huge tip that helped me a lot here was actually setting up a high yield savings account with different savings buckets and then naming each one of those buckets for my specific goal. So if I was going to be saving for a new car, I would have a savings bucket called new car, or a trip that I was going on like Bali 2025. Then I would set up automatic transfers into these accounts every time I got paid. So this way I took my mind out of it. I got out in front of self-sabotage, so I wasn't waiting until the end of the 2 weeks before my next paycheck being like, okay, do I have money to put away for these things that I want? And it becomes that much harder to take from those accounts because you actually see yourself stealing from the life that you want. The next thing I really had to understand was just how much money was going towards impulse purchases and buying shit that I didn't need. So what I want you to do for the next 2 weeks is keep a tally. Every time you see something that you want to buy, I want you to go put it on a list, write down how much it is, and at the end of those 2 weeks, I want you to tally up how much money you would have spent on all of that shit. And I want you to ask yourself if you even remember what half of those things are, if you even want them anymore. I cannot tell you how many times I would be scrolling through TikTok and I'm like, oh my God, I need that new lip combo. So I'll go over to Amazon, I'll put it in my basket, I will not buy it. And if I go back in 2 weeks and I don't even remember what that was in there for, then I know that that was a bad purchase. Once you have that total of how much money you have been wasting on average, say every 2 weeks, I want you to multiply that out and see what it would be annually. And then I want you to throw those numbers into a compound interest calculator to see how much money you could have if you invested that instead of letting it fly out of your life on shit that you don't don't really need. Remember, spending money is not the enemy, but spending out of alignment with our values and our goals is. So many of us think that we are buying happiness when we're going out and buying these things, but in reality, we're actually buying ourselves sadness. We are sad that we're not further ahead in life. We're sad that we're not hitting our financial goals. But if your shopping is preventing you from getting there, then you are the one standing in the way of getting the life that you want. And I know this is going to be hard to hear, but no one is coming to save you but you.
Saving your first $10,000 is, I think, the most important financial milestone. So here are some mistakes that I made while saving my first $10,000. The first mistake that I made is thinking that lattes or coffees out were the problem. I was spending so much mental energy feeling guilty about buying a $5 latte here and there. A better use of your time is figuring out what are big things in your life that you can cut back on. For example, maybe you have a car payment and you have a certain interest rate and you can negotiate that interest rate. That would save you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. The second mistake that I made is just keeping my savings in a normal savings account. Ideally, you should use a high yield savings account so that you can make even more money every single month, instead of leaving your money in a traditional bank account that makes literally close to 0%. The last mistake that I made is I didn't automate my savings. I used to rely on willpower to save money, which was the biggest mistake. Now what I do is as soon as a paycheck enters my bank account, a percentage of it automatically goes to my savings and my investments, and then I just spend whatever's left over. Those are just a few of the mistakes that I made.
I used to work in personal finance, and one of my main questions that I would get is, I want to stack my savings account, or I want to pay down my credit really fast. Like, what's a good way to do this? And my number one piece of advice to friends, family, clients, myself, if you cannot afford it twice, you can't afford it. If you cannot afford to buy something twice, you cannot afford it. So I would always give the piece of advice, say for example, $6 coffee every morning, okay? $6 coffees are not gonna make or break your bank. People that say that, like, they're just living in a different world. If coffees are the reason people can't pay their mortgage, we've got bigger problems. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, so I would always say, for example, it's the principle behind it. If you can afford your $6 drink and a $6 towards your savings account or your credit, depending on what you're choosing to do, you can get the coffee. Where this comes into play is, for example, say you're saving for a new pair of shoes. You really want these new pair of heels. They're $100. So you save the $100 for the heels, and then you save an additional $100 for either your savings account or your credit card bill. By the time comes to go purchase those shoes, now you've worked enough to get 2 pairs of shoes, which is double the work, right? So it's either going to eliminate, now you don't want the shoes because you're like, is it really worth my double the work for these pairs of shoes, or did I just want them for instant gratification? Or if you do end up purchasing the shoes, they mean a lot more to you because you worked a lot harder for them. And I say this with literally everything. Every last thing, like if you can't buy 2 Hydro Jugs, you don't need 1 Hydro Jug. And I just think it really instills like a different, again, we're canceling out the instant gratification, because that's what a lot of people get themselves. Instant gratification is what puts a lot of people in credit card debt, because they've got free money and it's not coming out of their bank account right away. They can sit on that balance for a very long time. They get the instant dopamine, they get the instant gratification, they get the instant purchase, and then 3 months comes down the line and they've not only paid $100 for those shoes, but now they paid $300 for those shoes based on interest racking up on that credit card. So, and then again, that's another great way to also load up your savings account if you're trying to load up your savings account. So you're spending less because, again, you're having to make double before you spend. And then also when you do spend, you're also putting into your savings account. So that's just kind of my own 2 cents. And that was something that I would help a lot of my clients with. And Raphael and I really do live by that. If I cannot purchase something twice, I can't afford it. And I really do think about that. And another thing that I also told people is when you go do the math on what something costs, do the math of like, okay, if it costs $100, divide that by your hourly wage. Say you make $20 an hour. That means it costs you 5 hours of work for that one thing. Is that worth it to you? That's another very, very, very big question. Is this one pair of shoes worth 5 hours of work to me?
アメリカの貯金術って意外とシンプルなんです。給料が入ったら先に貯める。衝動買いはちょっと待つ。目標ごとに口座を分ける。派手じゃないけど、やっぱりこれが貯金に効果があります。あなたはどんな方法で貯金をしていますか？コメント欄であなたのノウハウを教えてください。最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。